This morning at Emerson College in Boston, police detained more than 100 pro-Palestinian protesters. Similar rallies at universities and colleges have taken place nationwide. Protests at the University of Texas at Austin and at the University of Southern California yesterday also led to the arrests of dozens of people. They also canceled their main commencement ceremony under new safety measures. Recently, at Columbia University in New York City, over 100 student protesters were arrested for erecting an encampment on campus. Meanwhile, here on Long Island, tensions were high at Hofstra University as students and staff called for a permanent ceasefire. WRHU's Cameron was on the scene. Now, we actually have Cameron right here with us in studio to talk a bit more about what she saw at the protest. Now, Cameron, from your knowledge, how did this protest come to fruition?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I was alerted to was someone that I know within the Student Voices for Palestine chapter here at Hofstra notified me of a potential protest that was occurring, yesterday. I was, alerted to it today. This poster that was sent to me, this leaflet, if you will, essentially advertised that it was a faculty-led event that was essentially calling for a permanent ceasefire on behalf of the Student Voices for Palestine as well as concerned Hofstra faculty on campus. Throughout all of the interviews that I conducted with people, this was a completely faculty-driven event. However, student voices, joining in, concerned students, were obviously a key aspect of making this protest get to the point that it did.
Now, Cameron, when you were there, who were the different people you were seeing and what were the different moods being felt? Was there any concern about the safety of the protest?
Yeah, so I actually noticed about 6 distinct groups happening. And that seems like a lot, but it really does make sense, right? So you have this group of Student Voices for Palestine protesters as well as concerned faculty, right? And the air surrounding that was a lot of frenzy and aggression. And it did get to a point that, it was a little bit aggressive on behalf of the student voices, the student protesters. Now, would I say it got to the point that, a Columbia University scene or Yale or, any of these other major protests happening across Ivy Leagues and other colleges? I would not say that. It was not to that level in any capacity. It was very peaceful. There was just a lot of tension built up, right? Another group that I saw there was members of the Students Supporting Israel. This was about 5 or 6 people. One student that I spoke to was wrapped in an Israeli flag and was, really quite, tense and upset that this was happening because, his perspective was shared that he felt that there was no need for divestment because if you divest, then you need to destroy every building on Hofstra's campus. After that, you have the barricade, which was essentially built up of peace-safe officers. Now, I would consider this more of a neutral force, but they were still very tense. There was a lot of built-up tension. And with that, I'll address the safety concerns. There was not very much safety concerns at all, excuse me. Like I said, it was very peaceful. The only concern that was raised to me or that I was aware of was PSAFE was investigating some suspicious backpacks that no one had identified as their own. This was probably just some backpacks that went to protesters, but it was still a concern of theirs. After that, you have groups that were onlookers, so just people who were walking by or sitting there, and they were confused and a little bit, some supported, some were clapping and cheering for it. You had administration and the Student Government Association there. They were essentially making sure to cover themselves and make sure that nothing got out of hand. And finally, you had a broad coalition of media organizations there. You had WRHU, some independent student media journalists, the Hofstra Chronicle, and then eventually News 12 showed up.
Once again, that was WRHU's Cameron Bowden. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us this evening.